Let's look at listening. Since we are looking at oral communication, where there is oral communication, there is listening. So, listening is the absorption of the meaning of words and then sentences by the brain. Yeah, you take in what someone is saying and then you understand it. That is listening. It is the absorption of the meanings of words and sentences by the brain. Listening leads to understanding of ideas and facts. It takes attention or sticking to the task in spite of the distractions. So, where there is what we call listening is understanding. If you're not understanding, you are not listening. Yes, so listening leads to understanding of ideas and facts. Listening is half of oral communication. In other words, if someone communicates and there is no one to listen, then communication becomes incomplete. Like if you are just talking to yourself, imagine. So there is no communication there. So communication becomes incomplete where there is no listening. Listening is a skill that needs to be practiced and taken seriously as speaking and writing is taken seriously. For the consequences of not listening carefully could be very disastrous because you may actually lose important information when you've not been listening. Yeah, so listening is so important in oral communication and it is incomplete where there is no one to listen. Since you are speaking by word of mouth, someone has to listen for communication, for the communication process to be complete. And we should note that the difference between listening and hearing is that hearing is physical, while listening involves understanding the sound. So it is like hearing with a purpose. That's what we call listening. You can hear, but when you're actually not listening, so you're hearing with a purpose. Listening is making sense out of what we hear. It starts with hearing, but it goes beyond it. In other words, hearing is necessary, but it is not a sufficient condition for listening. So someone can be hearing what you're saying, but when they're not understanding it, meaning they're not listening, but they're hearing you. So listening involves hearing with attention and it calls for concentration and being observant. There is a Therefore, listening is a total process that involves hearing with attention, being observant, and making interpretations to derive meaning and sense out of what is being spoken. So, in short, listening is hearing with attention, being observant, and making interpretation to derive meaning and make sense out of what is being spoken. Let's look at the techniques for effective listening. So we have to first understand what effective listening is. Effective listening, this is actively absorbing the information given to you by the speaker, showing that you're listening and then interested and then providing feedback to the speaker so that he or she knows that the message was received. So effective listeners show speakers that listeners have heard and understood the message being communicated. So we are going to have the process of listening. For listening to be effective, like the following stages must be followed. So we are going to look at them in this video. The first stage of effective listening is sensing. This one involves the physical hearing of the message and one takes a note of it. You hear the message, then you note it. The efficiency of this stage will be affected by various external factors like noise, poor hearing, and then lack of attention. Because when there is noise in the place, you may not actually hear what the speaker is saying. So it's affected by factors like noise, poor hearing, when someone doesn't hear properly. Then lack of attention. Someone is not attentive, of course, they will not hear. So, sensing, it involves physical hearing of the message using your ears, and then you take note of it. Then the second stage is interpretation. This one involves perceiving the speaker's message, basing on your own experiences, your own values, your own beliefs, and then needs. So you are trying to understand what they're communicating, because one message is understood differently by different listeners. So you interpret according to your own perspective, your own experiences, own values, your own beliefs, your own needs. Another stage is evaluating. So this is important to consider the points mentioned and then assess their importance. One should separate facts from opinions and then assess the quality of these facts provided by the speaker. You're evaluating what the speaker was saying. You separate the facts and then what were not facts. So you separate the important messages from those that are less important. So you evaluate. You consider the options that have been, or the facts that have been mentioned by the speaker, and you assess their importance. That is evaluating. Then another stage is remembering. This one involves storing the message for future reference. One may take a note as he or she is listening, or make a mental note of the key points. So someone can note in the brain, or someone can note in the book. It depends on what one prefers. So remembering involves storing the message for future reference. Then the last stage is responding. When you are given a chance to evaluate the speaker's message, it is important to give verbal feedback. Or you can nod your head, or you can give a sound of agreement. Something like yes, yeah, something like that. So you are supposed to give a verbal feedback so that the speaker can know whether he or she is being understood or not. Yes, so those are the 6 stages of the listening process. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends. Let's catch up in my next video.